I can totally see where you're coming from on that, because you have a set of expectations of what your life is and is going to be. Hello, everybody. We're always happy when you join us on Epic Dialogue. Remember to like when you see our videos, comment because we want to interact with you, and subscribe. We appreciate you joining us, and stay tuned for more episodes of Epic Dialogue.
1, 2, 3, come on!
Well, good day and welcome to Epic Dialogue. And I'm so excited to be here for another episode with my brothers, Marlon, Dale. What's up, man? How y'all doing?
Pretty good.
Hanging in there, bro.
Okay.
Ready
okay.
to crash out.
Oh, well, I think today, I was talking to both you guys and I sent you guys some notes about this particular topic. And we don't do a whole bunch of rehearsing, but we do kind of talk about the notes and have some conversation.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was a good topic because this involves relationships and it involves mental health to a certain degree.
Wow.
And I think that's something it affects all of society. But when we talk about some of the stigmas that are unique to Black culture, we'll find some little nuances in there that's a little different. But it's a good subject. And today, the title officially is Avoiding the Crashing Out of This Culture.
So what inspired?
Well, it was a story that I saw online, and I have some notes here about it, and I want to make sure I get it really accurate. So I'm going to talk about these notes that I have.
All right.
This was in August, so it ain't been a long time ago, August of this year. A man by the name of Deshaun Floyd of Detroit, 37-year-old father, shot and pistol whipped his wife after discovering through DNA tests that none of the 3 children that he thought was his kids really were his kids. So the 3 kids that the 2 of them had together, none of them were his kids. And on top of finding that out, he also found out that the likely fathers of the children were relatives of his.
How does such a thing happen?
So what he ends up doing once he discovers this, he goes to her job, waits for her to get off the job, sees her coming out of the building, and literally goes after her, shooting at her. Did shoot her. She did get some bullet wounds. And then when he ran out of bullets, he caught up with her and pistol whipped her. So
did she live?
She did live.
Wow.
And he is charged officially with attempted murder. I don't know where the case sits at this time. I haven't kept following it. But I thought the emotional response was interesting because I saw a lot of clips online with people basically taking his side. And it was interesting that women were taking his side. I saw, and I was like, wow. Basically, I saw one young lady saying, well, can you blame him?
What do you think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we all should practice levels of restraint. It's better to walk away, right? That is the politically correct position to take.
Correct.
All right.
And I think we all here at the table agree with that position.
Yeah.
But
now, rage and intense rage or intense, betrayal can cause someone to go, AWOL.
I think the word is, and I said this, I disagree with what he did, but I do understand why he did it.
Right.
Which is deep. Yeah. Because even though you know it's wrong, you can see how the level of betrayal, you taking care of these kids, you being a father to these kids, you investing your life and your heart into these kids, and then you find out the very woman that you thought loved you actually betrayed you.
Mm. Yeah. And
And so
I imagine that spanning over a lot of years. How old was the children?
I don't know their ages, but they were relatively young. They weren't. I don't think they were teenagers yet.
Okay, so we're guessing maybe from low 10, 11
Yeah,
to like maybe 3, 4.
yeah. It was in that lower age
That was
group.
2 or 3 kids.
3 kids.
3 kids. So you think about that, 3 kids, and none of them was his.
And none of them were his. And think about it. Usually, you know, it's very unusual for a woman to get pregnant on the first time she cheats. So multiple times with different people and enough times to get pregnant.
So we're saying it's not an immaculate conception.
No, this is not. This is not an immaculate conception. And I was looking at that situation and saying, "Wow, what did he feel like in that moment to make him?" Because I want to go back. I want to say something. I want to put a definition on crashing out. The definition of crashing out. This is the short. There was a longer
That's the
one.
Webster's.
Well, this is the slang. This is the
Urban
slang
Dictionary.
urban dictionary definition.
All right.
It says to become suddenly and uncontrollably angry, distressed, or frustrated, leading to a full-blown reaction.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It was slow cooking, huh?
Slow cooking to a quick boil.
Yeah.
That's the definition of 0 to 100 to me.
Yeah, there it is.
0 to 100,
Yeah.
as Drake would say,
Real quick. Yes. Yes. Temperature rising.
And I thought about where were the potential breaks where he could have potentially stopped. Was there a place where he thought about, maybe I shouldn't do this? If I do this, maybe my kids will lose both their mother and their father. Because if he kills the mother, she's gone. And the action itself makes him a prisoner, somebody who's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
So now the kids have no parents.
Yeah.
So where does a point in your mind come with stopping? And
It don't come to mind because he done went to a place of worship. I think that's what happened. He
What do you
he was
define that?
betrayed by his God.
Who was his dad?
That one.
oh Lord. But
No, I'm saying to me, you got to love and love hard.
This
But
is deep.
listen, but when you go too far,
Yeah.
because think about it, he was into her so much it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
His freedom, his life, nothing. All that went out the window.
Well, what about, I think there's essences of, or an instance of self-deprecation, right?
Yeah.
To a certain degree. I can't believe this is happening to me, right?
From a
From
person
her.
of worship.
Yeah.
But don't we also think, and I'm going to bring a little bit of hip hop culture into this because I think it's applicable to this particular situation. I think culturally we've gotten less fearful of the consequences of our actions, less fearful of death. I think about, 50 Cent's album, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to die to get rich is what the title of that album really says. When we think about things like Biggie's album, Life After Death. Why does the album title have to be Life After Death? Why is death this thing that's on our mind, especially when we see it in culture, on a young person's mind? Or even I think about, this is kind of during our time, the Tupac video, I Ain't Mad at You. The whole thing is about the afterlife.
Yeah. But I gotta ask you, because like you said, the woman took the place of God, and these other conditions is either money or lifestyle.
Right.
So are we saying, when you say he's looked at her like a God, the disappointment of probably what he provided for her, whether it be security,
Worship.
financial stability, but so you said he mentally worshipped her,
Yeah.
and because she disappointed him,
It over. it was because
So he made her an idol then.
Yeah, he didn't think. He just that was it.
Do you think that's it, or do you think it's more?
I mean, without being in his mind, we can only speculate. But I
That's
mean,
true.
but what it would have to be to that level to trigger that kind of reaction. You get what I'm saying? Because I think we misplace people a lot of the time. Because after you get in a certain level of comfort, you figure this can't happen to me. Misplace people a lot of the time. Because after you get in a certain level of comfort, you figure this can't happen to me, not from this person. You see what I'm saying?
I can understand that. I can definitely feel.
But then when it happens,
yeah,
that's like life shattering.
Life shattering. And I can totally see where you're coming from on that, because you have a set of expectations of what your life is and is going to be. Because when, for instance, someone is married, you have a set of expectations going forward, what your life is going to be like. And then when that person does something to cause a divorce, all of those future plans evaporate. They go away, because whatever you thought it was going to be, it's not going to be
no
that
longer
anymore.
There. That's what I'm saying.
And so in that sense, I can totally get where you're coming from. So it's not just a loss of your trust, but it's a loss of the expectations of the future. And that's an even deeper loss.
Yeah.
Because you had all these expectations, and now this person has done something to you, and you're like, that future is no longer real to me.
Right.
And so why does anything matter?
But then we got to consider the conditions that were added to it too. I mean, it's one thing to have somebody commit a betrayal on you, but then when it's family members, right? There's an intimacy when it's family members, and you're reflecting back on the times things could have possibly took place. If these people are in close proximity of you in celebrations, holidays.
They're sitting at your Thanksgiving table, sitting at your Christmas table, eating your food that you've prepared. Are you serious?
Waiting to take a bite out of your turkey.
Oh my God. My God. I mean, it's so sinister in my book.
So you can understand. And I think that's what it is. That's why people are identifying with that level of outrage. And in that moment of outrage, if it consumes you, now you become reactionary. And you don't think. You're just purely emotional.
Purely emotional.
Yeah.
And but how do you prevent that type of reaction? What is the healthy way to deal with something like that for the viewers?
I'll say the first thing to do is get yourself emotionally under control. Don't immediately react to it. You know, I think about the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. And if you react on your emotions, it's a heightened possibility that you're going to go into sin. And that's easy to say, right? But sometimes more complex to actually do. But I think you have to slow everything down. And it's not to say you can't be angry, because anger in itself is not unrighteous, but it says be angry and sin not, right?
Or slow to wrath. Right?
Yeah, be slow to speak and slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not. Yeah. It's being able to slow yourself down. And really the only way that happens, let's be honest, you got to have a relationship with God. There has to be some kind of spiritual connection. Because if there's no spiritual connection to God, usually the only thing you got a spiritual connection to is culture.
So is that how people stop crashing out? And if so, why is that missing from the culture? That's a good point.
Well, it assists, right? And I think a lot of times when you have, it's just let's just use an example I'm gonna give you an example. If we're trying to learn how to drive and we want to drive, say, a big rig truck, there's training that takes place.
Correct.
And so you can have the connection, but if you don't have the training or you don't have the time that you put in to learn how to do something, it's not gonna assist you in that way. So you got to take it serious.
Yeah.
So just like when issues and problems and things that go wrong in your life happen, you have to apply what you learning, what you understanding, and apply it to your life. But you don't see, never once did he say when he shot his family up, there was a Bible next to him. Right? No prayers before.
No. But then I'm going to say also what you're saying is important. But that foundation has to exist before you run into that moment.
Yes.
Because if that foundation isn't already in place,
You're going to have a different alliance.
But why doesn't it exist
because
in the culture?
On the culture, well, the culture is anti.
The culture is very anti knowing thyself spiritually and understanding
connection
God.
to God, I would say. They do have spiritual. We have Erica Badu, right?
Yeah. We have different kind of spirituality, right?
Right.
We have Kemet and all kind of other stuff.
Yes.
But the reality is you have to have something that gives you a moral compass and a moral guideline. And without that, where do you go? Do you go to your friend and talk to your friend about what you should do? Because your friend might tell you, get your gun and go and kill everybody in the room.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about also just some statistics that I saw I pulled from the site, but it was talking about there were CDC statistics that young Black males had a suicide rate 2.3 times higher than young Black girls. So I'm thinking about the fact that
how recent was
this was
pretty recent.
This was recent.
Yeah.
This was like 2000. Most of the statistics I have are in the range of 2021 and 2019, and they're being compared back to 2009.
So that makes sense. Why does that make sense? Can somebody explain to me why does that make sense?
Well, culture has been going in a certain direction. Let's be completely honest. The direction culture has been going in.
Should we specify culture too? Because we do say hip hop, but I think it's more. We can narrow it down even further because
let's put a label on it, Marlon. Put a label on it. I think we need to put a label on it.
I think we have to more or less go towards I wouldn't say necessarily gangster rap. See, because before it was more or less reporting what you see, right? I'm explaining my life to you. And so this, I'm giving you an upfront, close and personal. But at some stage in the process, I started to say, well, you know what? This is actually good.
They started glorifying it.
Right. I started making this a thing of beauty now. Now I can have the chains and the women and
right.
Yeah.
Now it's the accolades that go with selling the drugs. It's the accolades that go with being promiscuous. It's the accolades that goes with the behavior that makes me look like I'm a quote unquote prominent figure in culture. And we've defined what prominence is differently than we used to years ago.
Because initially it was about the art form.
Yeah.
Right? It was a work of art. Let's get into the artistry of the wordplay or what the lifestyle is.
Right.
Now it's the everything else.
Yeah.
It's the status that it brings now. And so the negative connotations that are attached to it, that's what people have latched on to. And see, that's why the removal of the godly aspect of everything is removed. Because it's everything that is negative that is being glorified.
I'm going to toss one more. I'm going to
toss
one more before we go. One more statistic because I want us to think about this.
Okay.
Because we talked about the get rich or die trying. We talked about the ready to die and the growth of that attitude. Listen to this. 22% of Black teens said they had seriously considered attempting suicide. And this is a 2021 statistic.
This is teens, so this is
teens. And this teens.
So what is
and this is a 66% increase since 2009.
So why is that?
I think it's the way culture speaks to them.
Social media.
Right.
How it's being presented.
And
if you don't live up to a certain expectation,
you're a failure.
There it is. And because you're a failure.
You're a failure. And if you're a failure at 18 years old, where do you go from there? Somebody's reinforcing that.
To the depths, brother, and to the abyss. See, and this is a continuing trend because the glorification of it. And everybody has some kind of brand. So I got to give off the impression that I'm a certain kind of way. And being myself is not enough.
But why?
Because that's
isn't that what we see in the messaging? Is if I'm not here, then I'm not enough.
Yes.
If I'm not here, then I'm not enough. And if I am up there, I'm gonna look down on everybody else who's not there.
It's a
I'm not
catch
trying
22, right?
I'm not trying to pull people up.
Yes.
I'm not trying to,
I'm trying to
bring
keep you
people, I'm
down.
trying to keep you down so I
Yeah.
can glorify
Well,
myself.
why would you pull other people up? That'll make you look less important.
But that but that is what culture thinks. I know you making that point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's true, but it seems like the culture of, let's say, back in the 50s and 60s was that we were truly willing to get on a bus together to help everybody come up at the same time, or we would boycott a bus. I'll say, I'm thinking about the bus boycott. We would not get on a bus to cause everybody's tide to rise, so to speak.
Right.
We're gonna all come up together. We ain't gonna let them make money off us unless we all come up together. It's too much selfishness for that to happen now. It seems like it's so much selfishness. No,
Well,
I want to come
what
on.
went wrong?
I think we've had a lot of things go wrong. I think relationships, what you wanted to go back to, I think that's a part of it. I also think
Class warfare.
class warfare. I also think what's happening in a lot of the churches of today, materialization and pointing people towards things
Well,
instead
you
of pointing
have to,
people
though.
towards God.
Fantasy.
Oh, so we got several things working as I'm looking at it, because you got the spiritual aspect,
Mm-hmm.
you have the secular aspect, which is the societal issues, right? And the culture mindset. And I think when you combine those two, this is what the recipe is.
byproduct.
Yeah, this is the byproduct.
But that's
This-
scary when you can't be yourself.
You
That's a
can.
dangerous one. Yeah,
Well,
you
you-
won't exist.
Well,
Well, it's according to what. Let me say this.
who
It's
sets the
according.
limits?
It's according to what being yourself is. Because if you are a deceived person, being yourself can be dangerous. Or if you are a person who has evil tendencies that you leave unchecked. I mean, think about Samson of the Bible. I mean, he had this tendency where he wanted to go after a certain type of woman, even though his parents tried to stop him. His parents say, "No, you need to marry a good Hebrew woman." Nah, I need to go and have this Philistine woman.
Yeah.
Video vixen.
I'm just saying.
That's-
So you giving the equivalent of what's happening in this culture now, but that's no different than that's exactly what Samson did. I gotta have this type woman that looks this way, and because I'm gonna
But
keep.
that's the fantasy.
Well,
But
not necessarily. Well,
No,
it
I'm
is,
saying, but it's
it
like
is.
we chasing these fantasies.
But if you're using this as an example,
Mhm.
yeah,
strongest man on the planet, everybody is afraid of him. They fear him. They see him
Exactly.
coming, and it's like, oh, this guy.
yeah, this guy.
So he has already the power status, right?
Mhm.
So in a sense, he's saying, I don't necessarily want the librarian.
Yeah.
I want the bad Instagram
Yeah.
baddie, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like you mentioned, it is
Yep.
the same setting. It's just now we fast forwarding to now, and instead of being Samson in a test of strength, we go
Yeah.
by reputation, street
Right.
reputation, or who is this guy in life? Because you can have that reputation in the corporate world too, right?
Yes, you
Right?
can.
You can be Jeff Bezos.
Yes. You can be, and the thing of it is there's usually a crash out of some kind at the end of it.
Yes, every time.
Even look at Samson. I mean, Samson ends up blind.
Yes.
But then why do we keep repeating the behavior? That's what that's it.
Okay, we always think, and you've even brought this up before, it's not gonna happen to me.
But why when it always happens to you?
Well,
No, I'm serious.
But
If,
that's
if
a good-
think
okay,
about
okay.
every movie,
Okay.
But that's
it
a good
always
question.
goes bad.
But here's the answer. And forgive me, fans. We always see the biblical worldview.
Okay.
So you got to always understand, we always inherently have the proclivity to do something wrong. So you're always going to default in your worst condition. You're going to have the mindset to do something negative. So you say, well, why does it keep happening? Because that's the thought. That's the
The
default.
nature of man.
Right.
Look at Judas. Remember, Judas takes the 30. He takes the 30 pieces of silver for betraying Jesus, and then in the end, he regrets it. He feels guilt. He tries to give the money back like it's gonna undo what he did.
John, you said he felt guilt, but did he apologize?
but
I get what you're saying. No, but he felt bad.
But he felt bad about what he did.
Right.
But by the time, a lot of times you go too far with something, it's too late.
But let me ask you something. And see, this is also something that you said he felt regret.
He felt regret.
But it was selfish regret.
Yeah.
Because he knew what he had done. He realized it. But he still did not repent. Instead of repenting, what did he do? He took his own life. So what do we see here in our crash house statistics?
We see people
that's
take
the big apple.
That's
so there you go. That's the lineage.
Yeah, ready to die.
Yeah.
And the problem is we continue, like you said, to keep doing it, even though the examples of the outcome are all in front of us. And to me, what you're saying resonates because I don't know why you would keep doing something where you keep
That's what you
seeing
said.
the outcome.
It's not me.
But
that's what it is.
But you see the example.
No,
it is you.
No,
it is gonna be you.
What's the other term? What's good for him is not good for
Good
me.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, that happened to you, and that happened to you, but it's not
It's
gonna
not
be
gonna
me.
happen to me. It's not gonna be me.
Every time, in some way, shape, or form, we all go through that process and say, you know what, this actually does happen. But then the accountability part comes in, and if I don't want to take the accountability, I take my own life now. See, because I don't want to have to face the ridicule from everybody else. I'm already going to be hard pressed to ruin my reputation.
World,
yeah.
That make you think about like products. You know, it's just like cigarettes. It tell you on the pack.
Yeah, you smoke, you're going to die.
You got to risk.
But yet, flying off the shelf.
Because it's not me. And it makes me feel comfortable in the moment, right?
Right.
I'm feeling good in the morning. I'm relieving my stress.
What type of society is it that we embrace death?
It's a fallen world. It's what am I willing to do for my comfort? If I don't readily see the result, I'm going to continue the behavior. And that's whether you're smoking cigarettes or you're robbing people or you're selling drugs or you're abusing drugs. Same strategy, same, and
crashing out.
And we all think we're going to be the prodigal son that can crash out and still come home.
Yes.
But sometimes it doesn't play out like that.
Yeah. Well, most time it don't play out.
But let's say spiritually, it can play out for somebody that way. Spiritually, you can make mistakes.
Or if you have roots, roots, right?
Right. And God will embrace you and receive you back into His protection, His love, His, everything that God is. But so many times we see in culture when people go that route, they don't get a chance to come back.
It ends bad.
They don't get a chance to come back. Now, let's circle back to what you were going to say about relationships, because I think it's important.
How do we end up with people like this that would do us? That's deep.
I think with the Deshaun flood situation, I believe that Deshaun totally believed in what he had until he found out otherwise. And I think when you have that kind of betrayal, I think that is the thing that rips relationships, marriages, families apart. It's betrayal more than anything else.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, the deeper question is, how do you avoid being the person who betrays somebody? And how do you avoid being a person who can't see betrayal coming?
Discernment.
Well, do you listen to it when it happens?
Yeah.
Because as you stated before, or as you stated, not me philosophy. And as you mentioned earlier that, hey, there was signs here.
Yeah.
And did he pay attention to the signs? Did he, you see, that's
of
these.
I said, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I said, there's no way that a woman can cheat on you in that kind of way. And
it only be one incident.
And it only be one incident.
Yeah.
And plus,
but she got pregnant. That's the
Yeah,
hard.
and
Well, that's what he's saying. It's
Yeah.
not, sometimes that's not going to be a one-time occurrence.
you have to. There has to be multiple lies that allow that to happen. There has to be multiple deceptions that allowed that to happen, and that's what he missed, and that's what he might have even overlooked, because sometimes you overlook certain things because you love a person.
Nah, but I think more time than not, he knew.
You think he knew
Yeah,
who it
he
was?
didn't want to accept. Maybe not
Well,
who
he-
it was, but I'm
but
saying
there's something
you're gonna
was going
get
on.
an uneasy feeling.
So he had the signs then. So why did he ignore them?
Yeah,
And that's ignorance.
No, that's not ignorance because he said he knew. So he was cognizant of what was going on. So why did he not respond or react?
I think sometimes people just again with the worship, they want something so bad.
but I think
So he deluded
Yeah,
himself.
I
because
think- I think
think
it's
about it.
delusion,
A lot
and I think
of
he's
the
living a
time,
lie.
you know something.
You thought he was
bad
living
for
like
you,
I
so
think
you
he's
want-
living
So
a
he
lie.
figured, because this is just being human. We don't know the
Mhm.
detail, but
Yeah,
just being human, for it to happen with all three kids, there had to have been some telltale signs
that he ignored.
that he ignored,
That he
or
didn't.
pay
That he
attention
didn't.
to.
He didn't think were signs that she was unfaithful.
Right.
He might have thought it was somewhat problematic in some kind of way. And a lot of times there's tension in relationships, but it doesn't always make you think this person is unfaithful. It
Why
doesn't
not?
always.
But why not?
I think there's an assumption when you have a long history with a person, there's an assumption of the best of that person to some degree, not the worst. So while me and this woman may be arguing and we may have fights from time to time, it doesn't mean I'm going to automatically jump to a conclusion that she's unfaithful.
I got to ask you something because you made me. I really do. No, and you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you guys. Do you think sometimes when it comes to crashing out, that society puts a pressure on you to feel like you can't mourn when you're in pain, or you're less than a man if you grieve?
Especially from the man's
Yeah.
side.
Right.
Yeah.
So something like this happens to you, and because you don't want to be seen grieving, you act out in this way.
Yeah, like that gorilla.
You think
Yeah.
that's possible in a sense?
Yeah.
I would say that's certainly. I would say that's certainly possible. And
No, because they was going bad for him.
well,
I mean, but
Yeah.
now that
Yeah.
he's crashing out, that restored his honor.
Yeah.
but I mean, I'll say too that they didn't necessarily laugh at Papoose.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
didn't.
they didn't.
Well, because they looked at the characters that were involved,
Yeah,
right? He's listen. She may have done and she may be thorough, but he's also thorough in that same way. That's what.
I think if you're seen as a weaker guy, they might laugh at you.
There you go.
But if you're perceived as a stronger man, then you get the
You get the pass.
balance. You get the
You get the
balance and the
pass.
The
pass.
monopoly card.
get- yeah. And so, okay, let's talk about what some people perceive as the weaker man.
Yeah.
Russell and Sierra.
Oh, Lord. Or Future. Russell or Future. Right?
Yeah. So you got a situation there where a lot of people will say Russell is the simp,
Yes.
is the softy,
Yes.
is the guy that men shouldn't be like.
Yes.
But
The square.
the square.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is the guy who's taking care of his family,
Yeah.
taking care of being a father to his kids,
And her kid.
and being a father to her kid that's not his kid. You're right. And being what some would perceive as a stand-up guy in a situation where a lot of men don't stand up.
Yeah.
So ask you a question.
Mm.
Why is he perceived as the simp and the weaker guy? I'm just curious what
The same thing. The main topic that we all are talking about is this culture or this mindset, this development. Even when we were coming up, the guy that is the womanizer, that cusses his chick out, pimp
the
slaps
pimp,
him,
yeah.
right? That mentality, but has the admiration of all the women, is always going to get more of the pedestalization versus the guy that goes to work, does his schoolwork. You dig what I'm saying?
But isn't that behavior destructive to the black family as a
Absolutely, but we love destruction.
whole? So
Yes.
So my question is the glorification of people that are anti-family, and I'll even go to this. This leads to a lot of the mental health
Right.
problems. This leads to
Let me
a lot
clarify,
Okay.
because I know that's going to piss people off. So when I say we love destruction, I don't think people understand that
Yeah.
we lend to that because of a certain perception. And the perception of going in a direction
Yeah.
champions the destruction and the separation. And so all I'm saying, a lot of times when we're dealing with this kind of mindset and we're dealing with people that are socially, say, unaccepted,
Yeah.
like Russell,
Yeah.
he's too perky,
Yeah.
he's too clean, he's
Yeah.
too nice,
He's too nice.
it's perceived as a negative thing.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
And-
That's one. That was the statement. You can't even be yourself. That's
Well,
sad.
But see, it's still in sections. Because if you're future, you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just
you can
torture
I
everybody.
can torture everybody.
and everybody love me.
Yep.
See?
So
So
that's he's saying that's 100% the truth.
yeah.
And the bad thing is, Russell would be the guy that, if you took a look back at the 60s, the guy who took care of his family, went to work every day,
that's
did
him.
what he was supposed to do. He's a very successful version of what that guy would probably be more like. I wouldn't say they're identical, but he would be a very successful version of what that family guy would be like, taking care of his family, looking out for his kids, trying to have a great relationship with his wife. His wife goes on the Breakfast Club it was,
Yes.
and defends him in a way that you don't hear women defend men anymore.
Well, as you
And
stated
specifically
before, you
black
know what it
men.
is? The base or the root of what they live by is different. Right? Because do we think Russ, if he finds out that Sierra fathered or he fathered Sierra's kids that weren't his, is he going to respond the same way that the crash out guy
No.
did? Not
No.
a chance, right?
No.
Why? Because he has a
Foundation.
foundation. And so that tells you a lot. A lot of times you look at the condition and you see the reaction that a person does, and it kind of lets you know where their foundation is in.
Mm-hmm.
No man is perfect. Let's say that.
We all have flaws.
We all have flaws. And certainly I'm sure Russell has his share of flaws, and every other man. And we're just saying, why is it uncool to be somebody who takes care of your family, doesn't treat women poorly, doesn't have a mindset of, I need to go out, flash my money, be promiscuous, be this, be that? Why, when not being that seems to be the better route for a family man to go, why does that have to be something that's seen negatively inside culture? Because it should, in my estimation, it shouldn't be, because a godly foundation is going to lead you more in that direction than not.
Well, remember the frame when you look at people that are really excellent in what they do. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, it's repetition and practice. How much
Correct.
work do you put in? Your faith is the same way. Your walk in life is the same way. If you don't put the same measure of intensity
Right.
to practice,
Right.
you're gonna fall. Trust me, it's gonna happen. And we see that in this situation and people in general.
And I'll say this, in one of the conversations I had with a group of people who are kind of in the ministry space in the morning, one thing I said, and I stick to this, is the stronger your intimacy is with God, the more you can live a life that's aligned with God.
Yeah.
When your intimacy with God is weak, the easier it is for you to get
fall
off track.
Yeah.
For you to get what I call that people drift when they don't have a strong alignment and a strong level of intimacy with God. And what does that require? Oh, it just requires reading scripture. No, it's more than that. It is that, but it's more than that.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. It's a prayerful life. It's also, here's the scripture I always think about, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So it's looking at the things out in the world and deciding what you're actually going to let get past the gates of your eyes and ears and into your heart. Because whatever you get into your heart, that's what you're going to live out. And so at the end of the day, people
but that
really,
world ain't no joke.
it ain't.
It take
It's
people over
strong. It's strong. The influence is strong.
because they don't believe in longevity.
Well, no, they do.
No, I'm saying, but the relationship with God, that's
Okay.
long term success.
So
because it's
see,
gonna give you a
but that's
quality
towards
living.
somebody who accepts it, right? A person that
Well,
doesn't
even
accept
to
this
me,
will see like I
Okay.
can live like, because listen, you have successful people that are not connected to God,
monetary.
Yeah.
but that's how everybody measures
Yeah, but
success.
everything else being shallow.
But I agree with you. But what
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that's the difference of the foundations.
Right.
One foundation is in one thing, the other is in success and money. And you do have people that don't have any attachment, have success, have money, have a perceived great life, and then that's the standard. And you know what? Sometimes it's easier when everybody is marveling this style. They don't like this path. This path is too
Well,
restrictive.
yeah, I understand that, but I mean, but it's the quality of the life. Because having a deeper belief don't mean you're gonna be broke. You can still make money. It may not be as excessive, but you get what I'm saying?
You don't see, that's the difference. You don't when you're tightly in relationship or fellowship with God, your definition of happiness is not rooted in material. That's the difference.
And why is that?
Because of the principles. That's what it is. The principles that people lend themselves to in the world is different than what the principles of God has said. So the godly people, you don't even need to have all that money. You just need to be a good person.
I want to drop this scripture and I want to align it with this conversation because there is an alignment. This is in Romans. It's Romans 5 verses 3. And I'm going to start from a point in this scripture. It says, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame. So isn't it that people who are godly don't have the expectation of things going perfect already, but they have an expectation of persevering and fighting through to victory. And their version of victory often looks different than somebody who's just focused on material things, because their version of victory, a believer's version of victory, can have financial and significant financial success in it, but the money isn't their God. The money isn't controlling them. The money has a purpose. It's a tool for them to empower them to do the things that they're called to do.
Mhm.
While the person on the other side is just getting money because they feel like they're in a competition with everybody and they're trying to depress everybody else's money while theirs grows.
But that's because they get identity from it. That's what it is.
Oh, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's you're mirroring their personality after this likeness, and the other
But
mirrors
then
their
that's
likeness
why
after
they
their
crash out too.
But the challenges are
unrealistic expectation.
the challenges, that's true. The unrealistic expectations causes them to go off the rails because they got these expectations that are so high and so unrealistic. And when they don't get them, they completely
Well, they
crash
get
up.
them, but it doesn't last forever.
And even when
and that's why you gotta have that relationship, because you know you're gonna face hardship. You said, and it better prepare you for it.
But even when you do get them, you're gonna find that the value isn't what you thought it would be. And that's why it's so important for your journey to produce things like character, to produce things like hope, to produce things like a stronger relationship with God. Because when it doesn't produce that, the things that you have your values in ends up being the very things that destroy you.
Well,
crashing out.
So I think we won't. This we won't belabor the point today on this, but I think this was a good dialogue about crashing out. But I think it's a lot of things in culture that we need to pay more attention to, because when we have, suicide numbers going up, and when we have more of our young people saying that they're willing to take their lives, there is something missing that needs to be reinstituted, brought back into the space.
It's the same thing though with the unrealistic expectation. They don't want to go through nothing. That's just people in general nowadays. Like any little thing, it's over. That's a crazy mentality.
Before we go, one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that has changed so much where we're at that space?
Because people is given too much.
I could give you this long drawn out answer, but I'm not going to belabor the point. I think why is it like that? Times don't get better in our worldview until we have a redeemer coming. So for us, we recognize that according to what we believe, he has to come and we have to be judged. And so the world doesn't get better, it gets worse. But now, if you're a person that does not share the belief, then I'm certain more or less, more times than not, you're going to say, well, if we make a few changes here and a few changes here, it'll correct itself. But knowing that we don't have perfection in us, that's just not true.
And I'll go on to say also that even if you subscribe to something yourself, you're still submerged in a world that's fallen. You're still submerged in a world that's going in a certain direction, and it almost can't help itself. Because if you do believe what we believe, as you were saying, there's a prophecy that actually has to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing of it. But can somebody learn and change?
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody can learn and change. So does hearing give them an opportunity? Yes, because it says faith comes by hearing. So at the end of the day, we should give people a chance to hear, but they still have to make a choice, because God says, I put before you what? Life and death. And he says, choose life. He's just telling you, this is what you should choose, but you still got to make that choice. So, brothers, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
This was a really good conversation on crashing out. And hopefully, I'll say I pray that we see change, even though I don't know what to expect in that situation.
Well, you know what they expect.
Should my expectations be low or should they be high? I'm not going to have you answer that. I'll just leave it alone. But again, I appreciate the conversation, and we'll close out this episode with this thought. Think about the people around you. Pay attention to what state they're in. Be willing to come alongside somebody and give them a helping hand. And if you see somebody and you think they're about to crash out, don't just stand aside and let it happen if you can help it. That's what I say.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We'll
Like,
close up this
follow,
episode. Yes.
subscribe.
Like, follow, subscribe. Thank you so much, and appreciate having this conversation with you both today. And we'll continue soon with another episode of Epic Dialogue.
Peace.
Hello, everybody. We're always happy when you join us on Epic Dialogue. Remember to like when you see our videos, comment because we want to interact with you, and subscribe. We appreciate you joining us, and stay tuned for more episodes of Epic Dialogue.